Pre-algebra lesson 70, rules for addition of signed numbers. So, fun fact, this is the second time I'm recording this video because the first time my microphone came unplugged and I realized I was talking and nobody could hear anything. So, this is lesson 70 round 2. Other fun fact, the rules for signed numbers are found right here on page 222. I'll probably make you guys read these out in class so we can understand the mathematical definition, but sometimes these rules can be hard to understand when you're reading them because there's a lot of big words and it's difficult to figure out on your own. So, that's why we also have this cool chart that I made right here, which if you're having trouble with these problems, you should copy this chart onto a 3x5 card so you can understand how to solve them. Because addition of signed numbers is not going away. It's something that's going to last through Algebra 1, Algebra 2, trigonometry, pre-calculus, all of math. We have to understand addition of signed numbers. It's just something you got to get really, really good at. So this chart can help you figure it out. So addition to signed numbers is talking about positives and negatives, which is something we've done in the previous lesson. And the way that this chart works is that a positive plus a positive equals a positive. A negative plus a negative equals a negative. A negative plus a positive, or a positive plus a negative, you have to subtract and use a bigger sign. All right, so these, let's decode this. Also, since this is the second time I made the video, you can already see my notes from the first time I recorded it. So let's talk about what positive plus a positive equals a positive means. All right, so let's say I've got the numbers 8 and 4. I've got positive 8 plus a positive 4. Well, positive plus a positive equals a bigger positive. So I'm adding. I add the numbers and I just put a positive on the answer. So 8 plus 4 is 12, and then I make the answer positive. Now here, negative plus a negative equals a bigger negative. So I've got negative 8 plus negative 4. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add the number 8 and 4. All right, let's zoom in a little more. So I add 8 and 4, which is going to give me 12, and then I make the final answer a negative, because negative plus a negative equals a negative. Or a bigger negative is another way to say it. So positive plus positive, bigger positive, negative plus negative, bigger negative. Now, these ones, it really depends. Subtract and use the bigger sign. So when I have negative plus positive or positive plus a negative, I have to subtract and use the bigger sign. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to redo these 4 problems so we can see. Let me rewrite them really quick using the magic of my camera and time lapse. Ta-da! Okay, so here I've got positive plus a negative. Here I've got negative plus positive. Here I've got negative plus positive. Here I've got positive plus a negative. So what in the world does it mean to subtract and use the bigger sign? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract using the absolute values, right? So what I do is I ignore the positives and the negatives. I just look at the absolute value of 2 and 5. What is 5 minus 2? So I'm always going to take the bigger number and then subtract the smaller number. So what's 5 minus 2? The answer is 3, right? So I go to my answer block and I immediately write 3, okay? Now I have to do step 2, which is use the bigger sign. Right? So I subtracted, that's step 1. Step 2, use the bigger sign. So I subtracted 2 from 5 is 3. What's the bigger sign? Is the bigger sign positive or negative? It's negative because 5 is bigger than 2. So my final answer is going to be a negative. So it's a negative 3. Now what if I switch the signs? Well, I still do the same thing on the subtraction step, which is I throw my marker on the floor. I'm just kidding. That's what just happened. In case you wondered why my voice got quiet. No, the first subtraction step is 5 from 2. So 5 minus 2 is still 3. So the first half of the problem is still the same. Now the second half, I use the bigger sign. What's the bigger sign now? Well, now the bigger sign is positive. So the answer to this one is going to be positive 3. Okay, and let's do the same thing down here. We'll just get another feel for the rules. I've got negative plus positive. You're going to think about them in terms of absolute value. What is 8 minus 3? Because 8 is the bigger number. 8 minus 3 is 5, so my final answer will have a 5 in it. Now, is it positive or negative? Which one is the bigger sign? Positive is, so this one will be positive 5. Now, same thing down here. I've got negative and positive. What is 8 minus 3? 5 again. And then step 2, what's the bigger sign? The negative is, so the answer will be negative. All right, so these rules are to help us do these quickly. All right, it's okay if you don't fully understand them yet, but as long as we start using the rules, you'll get a better understanding for them as time goes on, and then I'll be able to explain them multiple times throughout the school year. Anytime you get confused at it, we can always go back to drawing some number lines and explain it, and we'll just do it over and over and over again until you get it perfect. All right, but until then, we've got these rules to memorize. Positive plus positive is bigger positive. Negative plus a negative, bigger negative. Where it gets a little tricky is when the signs change. When the signs are different, you subtract and use the bigger sign. All right, that's all we've really got for this lesson. If you have any questions, let me know on the school website, and I will see you in class.